Bob Mighell. I always say Mighell in my head because the way it's pronounced or spelled out, you know?
A lot of people do. I've only had one person ever pronounce it correctly at first sight.
Nice. I mean, is it Scandinavian? I mean, how would they possibly?
It's a Welsh name,
nice.
And it was at the guy was at the Department of Motor Vehicles. I was renewing my driver's license, and he just took one look at it, and he goes, "Robert Mighell," and I thought he might know my father, and I go, "How'd you pronounce that correctly?" And he goes, "Well, in life, you got to be good at something, and I'm good at names."
Great.
That was all I got, and to this day, only guy ever pronounced my name correctly on site. So
building off that, what are you great at? You know, for people who are coming in cold, like who's this Bob Mighell guy? No, I'm kidding.
That's Mighell to you.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm here. I've had a fun entrepreneurial journey in my life, having owned and operated a variety of businesses over the last 35 years, ranging from first business building snowboards to a medical equipment company that I owned and operated for 20 years. Had a flight school along the way as well. Did some commercial real estate.
I love glossing over 20 years in one sentence.
Wow.
That's a time.
That's
some perspective.
Crazy.
We're 2 years, going on the second year of our business. We're like, oh my gosh, it's, you know, that's a lot. Imagine 20, you know.
Doing something for 20 years, and it was quite an adventure for that. That was a medical equipment business. I basically started from scratch. One employee, grew it up over 25 employees, doing over $6 million a year revenue for 8 of the 20 years I ran it.
6 million, but then that's back when money meant something. That's when
it was a bit of money, and we were on the Puget Sound Business Journal's list of 100 fastest growing private companies for 8 of the 20 years. So we were having a lot of fun selling equipment all across the United States, supplying surgery centers and hospitals surgeries with the main equipment in their operating room.
And 20 years into it, you're just like, I mean, it seems like a well-oiled machine at that point.
Well, and it's really interesting because I'm now involved with the University of Oregon. We can talk about that a little bit, but they have a whole department focused on sustainability. And it was really interesting because sometimes people see, sustainability or a green premium you have to pay. People pay a little bit more if it's green or something like that. But actually the business I ran was actually kind of green before its time because our specialty was doing refurbishing of operating room equipment. So what we would do is we would buy surplus operating room equipment from larger hospitals or surgery centers. We would take it into our facility, rebuild it from the ground up, and then sell it to smaller rural hospitals or outpatient surgery centers.
That's identical. I'm buying refurbished or old surplus from other stores. These are all samples or ones with small stains. That's why I bleach them. So it's funny, I'm doing the same thing at a
unintentionally
much simpler level.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. The pieces of equipment we were dealing with were some of these operating room tables where brand new they could cost $50,000 to $70,000 each. We would buy them for much less and then refurbish them and sell them for maybe $25,000 and include a warranty that was as a new warranty.
So you've been someone who can take apart and put together things
I was
your whole life.
How did you get into that?
Because motorwork, skipping ahead, and we'll go back though, but motorwork, at your core, you really,
right.
You're a designer.
I've always loved to just build things and take things apart.
That's great.
Crash things.
So that's what you're good at, to go back to the beginning.
Yeah, go fast. That's been kind of a recurring theme throughout my life.
You're good at building stuff and going fast.
Yep.
I love it. There's two solid things.
Yep, and I love to design things as well, so...
Yeah, design is a big word that I've just recently started being everything in life that makes a meaningful impact in terms of that's more enjoyable, that's quicker, that's is good design. It's it's everywhere.
And you look at anything, and somebody actually had to design it. From this, my glasses to this cup. Somebody actually had to design that and determine how many, sides it was going to be. And the microphones we're using, all that stuff. But somebody actually had to design and build those and manufacture them.
Were you physical?
Pretty exciting, honestly.
It really is.
We've been getting into a little bit of design as well.
Yeah, there's a really interesting book. I can't think of the author's name off the top of my head, called On Design Thinking. Have you ever heard about that whole concept and stuff? It's just about design thinking, about how you actually design things, and for basically more customer focused, as opposed to, oh, I think this is something that I want. But then
seems like that's
actually
the foundation
thinking of the customers as well, which...
I really do subscribe to the idea that if, like a founder who's making something for themselves, like an app that they actually like,
seems like
building
that's
something
very
for other people is
common.
kind of the
Yeah.
foundation of the
right.
bad.
It can
products
start
a lot
and
of
it
the
can
time.
grow into it. I mean, that's how the whole my motorcycle thing with the tilting motor works. That was originally founded to build a motorcycle for myself. I had the medical equipment company, and that was running along fine. I was just a bored engineer and wanted to just build something really cool for myself.
And it's great because you made it for yourself.
And I dreamed it up, and I thought,
Yeah.
oh, this would be kind of cool. And then I took
It
it to
was.
a motorcycle show, my very original prototype for a tilting three-wheeled motorcycle. For anybody who's listening, don't know, I decided I wanted to build a safer, more stable motorcycle, and decided a motorcycle didn't actually need another wheel in the front. And so I just started building it, and then I took it to a motorcycle show, and I was going to go look at all the other cool motorcycles out there, but then I just parked the bike on the curb and pulling off my helmet and my jacket, and somebody came over and started asking me about it, and somebody else, and somebody else, and somebody else, and I looked down at my watch and realized I'd stood next to this bike for 6 hours straight answering nonstop questions.
Wow.
And the business side of me started going, hey, I might have something here. People were asking me if they could buy it and all this stuff, and I was like, well, it's not really for sale. And,
Not for sale. I love it. I love it.
and
There's a lot of similarities.
Maybe that made them want it more.
I think it does, honestly.
Yeah.
And you genuinely wouldn't want to sell the one that you made just for yourself. Like if you're like you just put all
Right.
that time into it, maybe
Yeah.
like figure out scale. And that's why I'm just figuring out scaling as its own separate thing.
And I still have that bike, the original prototype, in my
See?
garage.
Not for sale. Yeah. It seems like if you go the other way and just like the audience captures like, oh, okay, I want to do this. Like people don't really know what they want. Like people can take like sense when someone made something for like a good director made like really how to handle on the movie, or someone just made
Clear
a product
vision.
for a clear vision,
Yeah.
rather than like I really think like crowdsourcing and getting like a bunch of opinions kind of ruins things a lot, ruins design. And maybe not like I'm asking because
sometimes, but you do need to get feedback.
feedback.
And
I don't
listen.
need that.
How do
You
you get
need to
good
listen.
feedback?
Oh, people will tell you. Yeah, well, sometimes your friends are your worst because they want to encourage you. Oh, that's really nice. Oh, that's really beautiful. Where people don't really know you will just really tell you the truth if you ask.
And people saying they like it's good when it's not is actually kind of like more like bad, because then you're like, cool,
Right,
I'll keep
right,
going
yeah.
down this
Super
path. Like,
detrimental,
It's hurtful.
yeah.
Yeah, don't do
Right.
it. Be like,
So
no,
you-
this is
Rip
shit.
it to shreds.
Yeah, this is horrible and you should stop. Like that's helpful feedback sometimes.
Oh, right, yeah. And then that's what kind of led me with a motorcycle, is that I built it for myself for the performance and safety aspect, but it was going to these motorcycle shows and actually listening to customers, and I hadn't solved their problem, and their problem I ended up solving was a motorcycle that would be self-supporting when it came to a stop.
Which is so cool.
It seems like
And
they'd be
so
asking for
that
the
was-
moon to ask for that. So the fact that you actually delivered that is pretty wild.
but it was just like basically again that listening. So I wasn't selling as many as I thought, and but
And what is that? Can we bring us back to like what did you think you might sell? And because like doing a post hoc kind of analysis.
a
way
lot
after the fact.
more, because we were going after this three-wheel motorcycle space, which I had determined. So what really kind of drove me to actually start up the company was a company called Harley-Davidson. They make motorcycles. And
You might have heard of them.
Yeah.
Little indie startup.
And so I'd been, by that time I developed it, I'd been riding motorcycles for 20, 30 years. And I'd never once owned a Harley-Davidson. And I'd owned Hondas and Suzukis and Kawasaki's and BMWs and everything but a Harley. And I kept going to these motorcycle shows with my converted prototypes, which I originally did on a Honda and a Yamaha. And people kept coming to me and saying, well, when are you going to put that on a real motorcycle? And what they meant was, when am I going to put one on a Harley-Davidson? And because it was a two-wheel front-end conversion. And so then I started looking at the market, and of the bikes over 750 cc's, half sold are Harley-Davidsons. So if I wanted to address that market, that was where I was going to go. And at the time, Harley-Davidson actually sold a three-wheeled motorcycle, but it was a motorcycle that had a single front wheel and two fixed rear wheels. But they sold 15,000 of those a year at $35,000 a pop. So that one product for Harley-Davidson was $500 million to their bottom line in sales. So it was phenomenal. And the product I was developing way outperformed that. So I thought, we're just going to sell the heck out of these things.
Did you connect with them at all and see, hey, like communal vision?
Oh yeah. No, I contacted Harley-Davidson, and actually one of my Tilting Motorworks original investors was actually a former VP of sales for Harley-Davidson, and he had actually tried to promote three-wheeled tilting vehicles within Harley-Davidson. That's a whole nother story. And they actually tried to develop something similar to this about the same time I was doing it, and they had spent a couple $1 million in development on this project, and it actually went nowhere because they got the geometry wrong. They had hired it out to a company called Delphi, the automotive electronics company, and they tried to take a automotive style front end and make it lean, and it just didn't work. They actually went so far as they built 2 prototypes, and those prototypes still exist in the Harley-Davidson Museum in Milwaukee, and I actually have a picture of myself next to both of those. And they got a patent on the design, but the patent actually shows what was wrong with the original design. Too
convoluted. I mean, starting with a car, it seems all...
Oh, right, yeah, they just got the geometry wrong. Yeah. That's the easiest way to state it. And I actually talked to some people who actually test rode the prototypes, and they said it was just could not handle properly. I knew exactly why, and so I'd kind of figured out the secret sauce, and that's how I ended up down in Eugene, because that's what the company that bought Tilting Motorworks was Arcimoto, which is where we met. And
how much had you scaled by the time Arcimoto brought you in?
We'd actually
the secret sauce
been on the market. Yeah, we'd actually gone into production, had several iterations of design. So in a little bit of a way, we were a little bit ahead of where Arcimoto was in actually converting deposits to orders.
But who's keeping count?
Pardon?
But who's keeping score?
Well, but I'd learned.
So you came and developed.
I'd learned some lessons along the way. So I was almost like a year ahead of Arcimoto in that way, as far as moving from idea to production and moving from prototype customer deposits to delivery. And I saw some problems. And the problem was...
Geometry problem again?
No, this was a financial problem.
The worst ones.
Yeah, and it's couple things that I realized, and I shared this because they own my company. They'd already bought my company. Deal was done. It was fine, but I was just trying to help them out. Yeah. They purchased the patents, and one was it's easy to collect deposits. It's very difficult to convert those deposits to orders. So especially when you have, if you allow somebody to make $100 or $200 deposit, and then you call them up and say,
where's the other 20?
All right.
Yeah, we want the other 18 grand.
Kind of out of the blue, because they could have done a deposit.
Right.
Years could have gone by.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, you still have that 20 grand.
Right, set aside for this vehicle, and you just hear a whole myriad of excuses
I never even thought about that.
Oh, I lost my job, I can't, whatever. It's like, people will throw $100 or a couple $100 at anything.
It was refundable, wasn't it?
It was.
Then they really throw it at anything.
At the time, yes. And then the other thing that I came to realize was that in the eyes of the market, regardless of you can say for performance and everything else, three-wheel vehicles are just weird.
They're the weird ones. They really are. I mean, even driving around in a year, I'm like, this is weird.
Right.
It could be good, just weird, just foreign.
You just don't see people riding motorcycles in three-wheel or three-wheel cars. You just don't see it.
Makes more sense than two-wheel motorcycle, but it makes less sense than four-wheel car if you're going for that more. It's
but people, it was the thing that we ran into as far as marketing of Tilting Motorworks is that
not having us at your side. No, I'm kidding.
Pardon?
I'm not having us at your side.
Oh yeah, well,
I'm kidding.
One of the main problems is that people viewed trikes as for people who can't ride two wheels anymore. Or I would get comments about, you got to have training wheels or whatever.
Vicious community.
They kind of were.
Oh yeah, it's actually kind of interesting because I see it pop up again. There's a recent, I found on, somebody sent me a link to a Facebook Harley-Davidson owners group. Yep. And they had posted up, they'd found an old video that I'd shot years ago of me riding one of my bikes through the snow and doing donuts. And that popped up. So it popped up just last weekend, and so it's now Tuesday. That has over, I don't know how many views it has, but it has over 2,000 likes to it. And so, and it's got over 100 comments, and some of them are just like trashing it and everything like that. And others are saying, this is awesome.
Still need your training wheels in the snow. Crash every once in a while like a real man.
So in the motorcycle world, it's kind of a group thing. A lot of people ride in groups and such like that. And so if you would see one of these three-wheeled vehicles, they call them trikes, in a group ride, the trike was always in the back.
I do kind of recall that, just being on road trips and just seeing
so they'd always be in the back, and so it was always for the slower, the guy who couldn't ride. Mostly were guys, and whereas the market we were trying to get at were the guys that were still want to be in the front, and so
which I thought was really clever.
Right. So it was really interesting. So one time I was at Sturgis, the big motorcycle rally in South Dakota, and there was a guy giving me just no end of crap about it. And so there was like this canyon, and this guy had this super hopped up custom Harley-Davidson. He'd probably spent, I guess, and it's not surprising. I see guys would have, $70,000, $80,000 in their motorcycle. Oof. And he had a super hopped up engine and everything, and he was like the man. And I said, well, let's go ahead, let's run these canyons here, and it was like, I'll lead, and you can just see his look, oh God, I got to follow this, trike, this canyon, And so I said, well, I'll take off first. So I took off, and then 20 miles later, I got through the canyon. I pulled over on the side of the road, took my jacket off, got a glass of water. I got a cup of water, and then finally he shows up, and he said, 4 corners, I never saw you again. So it was just the performance aspect that I was after, but it was really hard to get people to actually, because of this stigma. And so same thing with Arkimoto, they ran into that as well.
I mean, Kenzie, just like, seeing and talking to you, just thinking that need for speed, like you were like a speed demon, like
right.
You take off the gear and then you just be like, anyways, I got that out of my system.
Yeah.
And then you're just like nice and mellow. Yeah. Because I'm not a speed demon, but then I'm quick, and just...
Yeah, you're very zen.
You're very zen.
Yeah.
But then you go quick, and I'm just like, keep me at like a mellow speed in a car.
Oh, no, it's a really great way for me to just, one of the few things I can do and just be.
Nice.
You can't think. It's just something you're you talk about being into a zone on doing something. And,
so you... And I mean, just because the obvious next place is, hey, this sounds great until it's dangerous. And we were at PIR when, what is it like wiping out in that kind of place, in that state? It must kill the vibe entirely.
No, I just popped back up and,
Really?
Yeah.
I've never fallen off.
I was a little bit more worried about my poor wife was there when referencing I had... was riding that electric motorcycle, which that still exists. Arkimoto, I believe, still owns that.
In a warehouse somewhere.
Yeah, it's in a warehouse somewhere. And it's a monster of a bike.
It's the heist of the century.
Yeah, because that bike, that one we geared up to do about 175 miles an hour.
Holy cow.
And it would do 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds. So it was a monster of a bike.
Because that was a lot experiencing it in a car with a back seat. Experiencing that much, like just like leaning it.
Oh, you got to ride in the plaid?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always...
I was nauseous. I was like, I got to get out of here.
Oh, really?
It felt like a roller coaster. It was fun, but it was a little much for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
For the faint of tummy.
I got to ride, and I was taking a video of it and stuff like that, and I posted it up, and I said, that's the sound you hear in the background, because there was 3 other engineers guys in the background. Those are fully grown men sounding like 10-year-old boys.
Yeah,
or giggling like 10-year-old boys. So yeah,
I mean that's the bliss place is when it's just you just break it down to those primal, just like this brings joy, and then just being in a situation where like no one's gonna hide it. That was joyful. Yeah. Those are like that's what life's about, is finding and doing those. So anyone who has a plaid and gives people rides, thank you. You bring joy to many.
Yeah,
truly.
So then you kind of Archimoto, that kind of goes the way it does, and then you find yourself at the U of O.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to end up at the U of O. Spent about 2 years with Archimoto and being all part of that ride. That's a whole nother podcast for you to go over. And my connection with the University of Oregon kind of started with my lovely wife, believe it or not. And I had been involved. I had an undergraduate engineering degree and then obtained a MBA up at the University of Washington, and which is where I started the medical equipment business, and Tilting Motorworks was up in the Seattle area. And after I graduated from the University of Washington, I was heavily involved with their business school entrepreneurship program for 25 years, and just going in, speaking to classes, and business plan classes, entrepreneurship classes, and then business plan judge, mentoring students, all that fun stuff. And when I got down to Eugene, I was talking to my wife and saying, I kind of miss that interacting with the students. And she wisely pointed out that, there's rather a large university, right here in
crazy
town.
Odds. Yeah.
If you can get over the fact that they're the Ducks, so I went over, and actually while working for Archimoto, I was already just kind of doing the same thing at the University of Oregon. And then had an opportunity. They had, this was kind of over COVID, kind of the end of COVID time, and their entrepreneurship program had been kind of not really fully functioning. Just a lot of things at universities and schools had kind of fallen off playing on that. And so they had recently hired on a new director of their entrepreneurship program, a gentleman by the name of Jeff Sorensen, and I connected with him, introduced myself, told him I was a resource in town. That's
a vital part of business, is connecting with people that have like, hey, this is clearly a win-win, but you still have to connect with them and then pitch it in a way that's like doesn't, right. What was that kind of like? Because
yeah, exactly. I was at an event that I knew he was going to be at, and
nice. In person's the best.
And just went over, introduced myself, and we kind of hit it off, and then met up later for a coffee or whatever, and kind of he expressed the vision of what he was wanting to do, and I said, that sounds right, let me know how I can help. And so it wasn't very much later after I'd met him that I ended up parting company with Archimoto, and then I said, hey, I'm available. What are you interested in doing something? And so we dreamed up a role for me as my official title is entrepreneur in residence at the University of Oregon's business school. And so we
you can beat me, you get a free degree.
Yeah, we literally made up. There wasn't like a position to fill or anything like that. They just hadn't had anybody in that program to doing that full time.
Business to be done, because then it's like it's a tailor fit role.
Right.
You have someone in it who's motivated, wants to do, it's like that. Those are the ideal roles that probably have the biggest impact.
Right. And then he saw the value of, you get a business education through the business school, but there's kind of another role they have me in, it's called a professor of practice. So basically, somebody who may not have the PhD, which I don't have, but actually has real world experience and can speak to that. And so that's how my wife ended up. She also teaches at the University of Oregon in their interior design department as part of the architecture, School of Architecture. So and she brings 35 years of experience of that to the students. And so we were just talking about this, about how there's some things that they teach. You can get a business degree, you can get an MBA, and yet there's no classes on sales.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so being business owners yourself, if you don't have, so you can...
90% of energy spent sometimes.
Well, you can know how to write a business plan. You can design something, you can do it. But if you can't actually sell it, you have no business.
What are your biggest, because I mean, that's, something we've been realizing. Like, we started the business because we had clients and we're like, oh, we're contractors, let's just formalize it. Right. And then, things change, and then it's like, oh, now we had to start doing that. And it's been a big year of just just learning a lot, because
networking.
I at least never learned about sales.
All right. Yeah. You just have to kind of do it. I kind of fell into it because the medical business started up with, I actually worked for a guy who had actually started up this business. So and unbeknownst to me, because I didn't ask and he didn't tell me, but he was going to his second divorce. It was a small company. I was hired to be their general manager and just kind of run the business side of things, the accounting, the billing, production, make sure that's all running smoothly. And he was going to be doing the sales. Well, he was literally AWOL, and customers were calling up and saying, hey, I want this, or where is this? I ordered this 6 weeks ago.
Oh, boy.
He'd come waltzing in whenever he felt like, and I'd say, hey, what about, Sarah over at, St. Thomas? She needs her surgery table. Oh, yeah, I need to get working on that. It was just like he was just totally absent.
What are you doing? I mean...
Right, and so by this time I was already... I married and I had 2 children, and it was like I'd moved my family, and it was like, well, this company's going to go down the tubes unless I step up. I'm going to just start doing the sales stuff. And so I ended up, I was an engineer with an MBA, but I never sold anything. Maybe I did as a paper route when I had my little paper route, but that was the last time. And but I just realized it was just something people had a need, and I was able to help them. You had to get your own
you had to go find houses that would accept you. You'd add them. It wasn't like a business. That's so funny.
Kind of inherited the route from somebody else, and then so you're always trying to get new customers.
So you just start going right next to your route. You just knock on those. What a time! Because I love meeting people in person, like how you met the U of O.
Right.
And it's happening less, which really is this is a fight to keep, just a reason, just keep it in person.
It's really interesting, so how do you balance that out? Because it is very interesting what you can do nowadays with the social media, social marketing, and stuff like that. And then the range of, people that are interested in you. I just got a contact through LinkedIn of a guy who wants to start up a motorcycle-based business in Dubai, wanting some advice.
Yeah,
he found me through LinkedIn. It was just like, but if you're just back in the day when you're just kind of marketing, how do people know about that? And then if you get, you get your shirts that you're making on the right influencer, boom. That's all it takes.
Yeah. Are you pitching yourself as an influencer? Can I get a photo of you? You're the right guy, Bob. I'm telling you, man.
Well, no, it's interesting. I was over the holidays. I was with one of my sons, and they're all in their 30s now. And I had 3 boys, which meant there was always in high school a bunch of girls over at the house. And he goes, "Oh, did you ever hear what happened to Tasha?" And I go, "What?" "Oh, she's a major influencer now." I go, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, look her up on her Instagram account. She's got 1 million followers." And she ended up getting married and having children, gaining a lot of weight, and then losing that weight, and then just kind of working with other young mothers who had that same problem, and that's kind of her little niche.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and it's like people can find something, And yeah.
Like, I mean, someone reached out to us after you sent that galley talked about us in a video. You had sent that to us.
Yeah.
Someone heard that and reached out to us. So I'm like, there is such a big benefit.
Definitely.
But in terms of feeding your soul, knowing like the person who you're doing or working alongside or benefiting is like vital to being like, cool, I'm on a team. We have a mission rather than just like
at like a base core human level,
not just communicating. It's like there's you're alone in a foxhole at that point. It's kind of continually
over the holidays. I got a Christmas card from one of my old customers, a picture of himself and his wife on one of the Tilting Motorworks motorcycles. That was their Christmas card for the year.
Awesome.
Nice. That's beautiful.
So I thought, that's pretty cool.
I like it. Do you miss the old gang?
Do what?
Yeah, do you miss the old gang? The old like Tilting Motorworks? Like, I mean, I assume you guys are pretty close.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite business?
The favorite business?
Yeah, like
out of the ones you've done.
Probably Tilting Motorworks. That was something because with the medical business, I wasn't actually doing the design work. I was working on other people's stuff. And but with the Tilting Motorworks, that was something that I'd actually kind of dreamed up and actually built and had been told it wouldn't work and made it work. So
that makes sense.
And I still ride them.
What advice do you have for? Can we explain kind of where we're at in life and get some sage counseling and
yeah, great question.
Remember, you get what you pay for.
Yes. Free advice is the best of it. You know, you're not if you're getting paid for advice, you're like, my advice is going to be, you need a lot more advice. You know, like it's corruptible. But so
like
for
psychologists,
free advice, we make videos, we take photos. You've seen us around at places. The clothing, funny enough, is a way to kind of communicate with like new people in a way that's not just like, hey, do you need a photo or video? It's just like an exchange. It's more like cool, here's like a fun it's fun to talk about with a lot of people. And so this is like a side thing. This is not a part of the business, but
But it could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot to, I mean, you know better than anything. A product is a lot. I mean, would you do a product again if you were to like,
product versus service is an interesting thing because like our Good Marketing Works is service based.
Right.
And then kind of experiencing and like watching Tiger with his shirts, I'm like, okay, I see the appeal of products versus services. Right,
because it's and it's just like, where do you get the customers? What do you enjoy really doing too? Right.
Funny enough, I enjoy our service. I really enjoy making videos.
Right.
And like the product, and I'm like, I see nothing but the downfalls of product. I'm like, oh, you have to ship it. You have to worry about people who
there's definitely some logistics.
Like gets lost in. I'm like, oof, like a whole host of like stuff. Whereas service, I'm like, cool. I'm communicating with someone who wants something, and I'm in a position where I'm like, cool, I can help you get that. Better than if you were just doing it.
So your challenge is getting enough of those clients.
Yeah, I mean, the world is not doing especially well lately. I mean, just with AI, people.
Right. So how does that affect your business?
Big,
Can you be replaced?
Like we've gone enough.
Sorry,
no, we can't be replaced by it. But it's having reverberation in terms of VFX and editors in Hollywood getting laid off and then taking remote jobs. Like just like these big the people who are being affected by AI video are entering the rest of the industry.
Right.
And more than that, I'm like, it seems like a lot of people have like less funds. Like people are tight. Like I mean. It's famously a good economy. Yeah, it's a tough time. But it's
and I think too something we kind of didn't expect because like we had clients and then we started the business. Like it kind of we kind of stumbled into it, but then we kind of got to
switching
this place.
Over to B2B.
Yeah, like okay, we mostly work with businesses or nonprofits, and just like developing those relationships takes a lot more time than selling like a shirt to a customer.
Yeah.
Like that customer journey is so much shorter than
but it's also the difference level of price point too.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Your t-shirt is whatever.
$1,000.
$20-$40, whatever.
What the
fuck? For you, my friend, a special deal. Whereas a service is a lot more, it's a service, right? And it's a lot more expensive. You're not going to do a video for $40.
Even if it was the same price, the things that are involved in you're being the hand, like the paintbrush of someone who wants something. So like the input that's involved, the decision on if they want that. Like there's a lot that goes into hiring someone for a service, So whereas a product, someone's like, I want that, even regardless of the price. If they want it and they have the funds, they buy. It's a simple kind of yes or no decision rather than what's it going to be like?
But it's also your time too. I think I can tell, and just from knowing you too, is that you both enjoy the creativity side of the service side of it.
Yeah.
Whereas the production is the creativity part of that is actually a small portion.
Yes, man.
Right.
Very well put.
And then whereas, your service, it's a continuous creative process from start to end until you actually deliver it, and then you move on to the next one, and it's the next one can use similar things of the previous one that you just did, but it's a whole different
thank goodness. I love that it's a whole then it's that's what keeps it enjoyable.
Right.
And we're just communicating with people.
And certain people, and you almost have to realize whether certain people, again, in the startup kind of arena, there's certain people that find themselves good at startups. It's the creation of it. But the running of it, can be a slog. And so it was like with Tilty Motorworks, it was kind of fun in the beginning of, developing new products, figuring out what was wrong, changing the design, coming up with a new thing. But then once you're actually locked in the design, you have to almost lock in the design, otherwise you can't continuously be changing it. You want to improve it, but they're not leapfrogs that you're making in changes. That's expensive in a production environment. And so you move away from the creativity side of it and then into the slog of actually running a business, hiring people, expanding sales, dealer network, and just all that stuff.
Bring it back to sales. That's like the primary, like we had never done B2B. Like we've never like essentially just seeded like, hey, because not every time is the right time for any company or person to get a video made. Just knowing, hey, when the right time comes up, here's like our quality, here's what we can do. And then those come up. But when, like Kenzie mentioned, it's just like a longer like cycle to get clients is more or less like, oh, once they know about you, they might need a video in 6 months. So it's just knowing that it's not people are like, yes, I've been really needing to make a video and I haven't already hired someone. Like the likelihood of those situations is a lot less.
So I was able to build my medical business. I mentioned that actually grew quite rapidly for year after year after year. And one of the reasons for that was that I was able to, I created my own, have you guys ever heard of Salesforce? It's basically a CRM, customer relation management software type of software. So I created something like that before that was even a product. And because I figured for me, because I was selling to hospitals and surgery centers. Oh,
I bet for all the types of stuff you sold, that must have been huge.
But it was
complex conversations.
But it was easily identified.
Yeah.
So basically every hospital and surgery center, I could find that there's 10,000. Boom, that's it. My customer base was 10,000. That's it. And so I figured I could get all those names into a database, and then I just start contacting all of them.
That's beautiful.
Which is exactly what I did. But it made me create this system.
Reached out over the phone or like?
Yeah. Nice. At the time, it was just phone and fax. And we're just kind of going with emails and stuff.
Would you randomly get a piece of paper? You do.
Yeah.
That'd be so funny.
The funny ones, we used to get them from like Nigeria or something like that, but they were always scams.
So something like you'd have a piece of paper, someone would just give you junk mail or like a.
Oh, and that was
over. Literal junk
That's
mail.
so fun. Like,
and it's really bad because it was the old heat faxes where it would scroll off and roll up and everything like that. Anyway.
We have no reference for it. I mean, more than anything, I'm fascinated by the idea of a fax machine. Like your printer's connected to anyone.
Right.
Sounds kind of fun.
It does sound fun.
But as far
as faxing back.
But as far as your business, how do you utilize that? Is just find a contact manager software, and because again, okay, so you said you spoke to somebody, and Sarah. And she says, well, we're not doing anything right now, but maybe in 6 months.
Yeah.
What do you do with that information?
Oh, reach out in 6 months.
4 months. How do you know when to do that? How do you
put it in the
Notify
calendar,
yourself.
put a thing in the calendar, like reach back. I think that's what we did for scheduling this podcast. It got
Right.
postponed.
So
I just kinda
basically,
moved it.
you just have to come up with a system.
It's
Yeah,
our low
it's all
budget
about
CRM.
system. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's reliable because
Right.
I do check the like creating a system where you have to do another thing like open a CRM is tricky.
Right.
I know,
but,
because we've used HubSpot and like we've used Salesforce a little bit, like with other people.
Yeah, but Salesforce is just so it's interesting. They're trying to implement that at the University of Oregon.
Oh, really?
And I've tried to use it, and it's just like, I've designed my own.
Is it in Excel?
And it's
Excel or
just,
Google Sheets?
Pardon?
Is it in Excel or Google
Oh,
Sheets?
no. It was a complete separate
Coded?
coded system, yeah. Yeah,
Can
so it
we
was
try
pretty
it?
cool.
Can we use it? Does it still run?
Oh, no, it's just long gone now. I ended up
Oh.
selling that off. Yeah, and I realized,
Wow.
and I realized that kind of went with that business when I sold the medical business, and I realized kind of in
So
hindsight,
you sold 4 businesses.
yeah, something like that. So
Wow.
in
That's
hindsight, that the CRM software that I'd actually created was probably the bigger business than even the medical business. If I'd actually figured out a way to actually treat that as a business.
Because you were good at scaling, scaling a needed thing.
Yeah, because it was I could have modified it. I knew how to modify it and everything like that, and just run it for a plumbing business or a auto dealership or whatever, and allow people to kind of use that and grow. So
That's beautiful. You've impacted a lot. Like
Wow.
just thinking about how many people. You've had some ripples in the world, in so many different kind of.
well, and it's actually
areas.
fun now because I think I'm almost impacting more people at the University of Oregon with these students. Kind of encourage them to start up businesses. I'm also able to work with faculty and PhD students, especially with the night campus. The night campus is the.
So you talk to a lot of people who are starting up really cool, like just to like frame this correctly, right?
Mhm.
Can we'll do a video for free as a show of just like what it could be if you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean definitely just I just did it at Fifth Street and we ended up meeting the person who like owns that area, and then she was like, okay, cool, I'll put a word in, go talk to the building manager. We got there, she left, but like we're gonna go back tomorrow and meet her. It's like.
Oh really? Yeah.
Because I just stopped into one of the places, Paint by Number, or it's like the whole class of people. Like, and I just filmed him. He's just a really charming guy when we were at another shoot, and I like turned into a pretty fun minute-long video. So
Right.
just I'm like essentially, and it could be long, but like people are doing something, having an easy explainer, they can text it to people rather than resending an email, like a lot of words.
Right.
Just, here's a link to get the, I'd be happy to show. Like, I think it'd be a no-brainer. But I'm like, I like making videos, which is why we can't just be like, cool, we'll do one to prove, show proof of concept. Because we're just at a place where we're like, we are looking for the industry. Everything in the world is just changing at such a rapid pace.
There's a lot of it like influx right now.
Yeah, it's just.
Are you guys figuring out how to utilize AI into your videos?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the tools that it creates, and like it takes a long editing process of like cutting out a person, like while they're moving. So now it's just like easy. That's been a massive blessing.
Photo editing has become a lot easier.
You just do color correction. It's like great. That saves another. So the AI based tools I love.
Right. Yeah, they're getting very sophisticated. I was just down in San Francisco at a entrepreneurship conference, and a guy was talking about how now with a super short snippet of your voice, they can actually replicate your voice.
Yeah. Okay.
And
we upload like 3 hours long, and like it can get really.
It's pretty good.
But what they're able to do now, they can actually
snippet. It'd be, maybe.
But they can actually do videos.
Yeah, that's insanity.
And get you and their work. So the product they were working on was like it would run in the background of like Zoom to make sure that the person on the screen was actually a person. Because what had happened was that somebody was able to replicate somebody
themselves.
Not
to
themselves.
pretend like
like
to somebody else,
them.
right? So basically,
wow.
they got a guy to be the CFO of this major corporation.
You got a fake person hired, like a fake.
No. He did a Zoom call with the company's real accountant and said, "Hey, I need you to transfer, $20 million to this bank account." And they did.
They did.
And
Baller.
it was just gone.
That's wild.
And so this guy running this program, he was doing some work for a case because he was an expert on being able to spot this stuff. And his attorney who was working on this case, because he was like the expert witness, so the attorney got a phone call supposedly from him. It was actually from his phone number in his voice, trying to get information about the case. And the attorney was going, well, this was on the phone call with him for like 5 minutes, and then something didn't quite add up, and he hung up. So he called the guy and said, did you just call me? And he goes, no.
That's wild.
So it took the attorney who actually knew the guy, 5 minutes to figure out something was up. So stuff going on.
I thought it was going in different. That's a scary direction. I thought you were going in the direction of essentially he made a LinkedIn account for a fake and then they could actually show up to the Zoom to get hired as a remote. I thought he was getting fake people.
No, there's some pretty scary stuff out there that you just need to be aware of. And then it's just a continual battle that they'll figure out how to spot for, maybe there's something twitching in the video that they can then say, oh, that's not real. And then they'll spot that, but then they'll figure out how to fix that problem. And it's just like a
framed video scenario.
Kind of like a kind of a whack-a-mole.
I didn't do that. I swear to God. It's like, you're sleeping at that time. Or like, you have no alibi. It's like, I swear to God, that's not me on video. Because there's always going to be the cutting edge when it goes the other direction, where it's like, oh, right now that's better than the detection systems.
Yeah. So it's just a continual battle, because they're just going to get better, but the detection systems get better.
We need to denuclearize AI. Hey, just chill out. It doesn't need to be the top funded thing in the entire world. Let's just let us evolve a little bit in terms of how everyone's I think everyone's just very tired and inundated with subscriptions and like too many apps on my It's become just this deep
that's
level.
Always we see never-ending ideas from the students on, I'm going to create this next app.
Yeah.
And so I always ask the same two questions. One is, have you ever written an app before? Well, no, it's just an idea. So one, they don't know how to do it. And number two is, how are you going to make money on it? And
good first questions.
And then the other
devastates about 87%.
Well, then the other one that really gets them thinking is, I ask them, well, how many apps do you have on your phone? Oh, I've got how many did you pay for?
And how many do you enjoy, or
and so basically they don't pay for it. How are you going to make money
model,
on that?
But then who wants a bunch of ads clogged?
Yeah, but do you understand that?
I love
you
this,
know how many
moral, personal.
But it's just like, do they realize, how many clicks you need to get to actually make $1? You're talking, thousands, hundreds
Billions.
of thousands. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if if you're typing, I'm going to reach, 10,000 people, well, that's $1.95 in your wallet.
For me, it's just like 2 days ago, I told Kenzie, I just realized one thing, whatever my next venture is after close, I don't want to ever make an app. I don't just thinking of the impact of what if people I want people to be on their phones it's just because I'm just I just look, I'm God, I really should check out a couple of these, delete them, just simplify. I'm just tech is a cluttered room. And with AI and all these growing things speeding up so fast, I'm the room clutter is so I make peace in my physical space to make up for it. No, that's.
I was out at dinner with my daughter, and she was talking about Instagram, and I said, no, I don't have an Instagram account, and unfortunately I decided to go to the restroom and left my phone on the table, and when I got back I had an Instagram account.
Follow, Kenzie. Instant follow. Instant. Where's my phone? I love it. You.
So yeah, but it's fun. It's a way for me to connect with my kids and stuff on that. So
that's, I think, the most beautiful. With AI, we're seeing less of our I'm seeing less of my college roommates and my friends on Instagram and Facebook.
Are they just not doing it, or are you kind of off of that?
Being
Meta's creating AI accounts. They're just trying to be people are just making content that gets eyeballed. We did it with Arcimoto. We were just trying to get views, awareness.
Right.
So AI, Meta says, we have all this data. Let's just be, we're the people who make it. So they rolled out they have a stronger priority on you viewing content more than connecting with friends. Yeah, they've gone away from their initial tie. So you just don't get shown friends unless you kind of go out of your way to check. It's.
Well, and I feel too, you have that, and then you also have all the businesses trying to use social media as a way to market. Connect and market and do these things, and That's
so
fine.
We're not really connecting digitally with friends. I've
But
just
yeah,
noticed me personally,
it's interesting
it's
to
less
think
of a
about.
tie. Like a group chat on Snapchat, like all these things. It's like
Right.
you go on the internet, you go on and you just see a bunch of businesses and a bunch of ads and a bunch of high quality content in the middle. But the genuine people, and everyone's not afraid to make content like these days, but it's like exhausting to be like, okay, so I have 6 platforms to post it to. People, it's just not like I make a video, upload to YouTube.
Yeah, I'm interested.
I'll share that link with. It's like, well, it's not on Instagram already. Well, why would I leave Instagram to go to YouTube? It's just
I think people are just
declutter.
Yeah, I think that's how a lot of people are feeling. Like maybe this next generation.
But not to project. What's your experience lately? Because you're lower tech than we are. Like, what's it like on the other side of the
world? I don't really use too much. I follow Facebook. Again, because my kids post stuff up there, and then or Instagram. That's probably about it.
Living the dream.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Living the dream.
Living the dream.
Oh yeah.
Living the Vida Loca.
So,
but it's easy to get wrapped up. Or I think I might have a TikTok account, but I don't think
we got them, ladies and gentlemen. Bob, 3 hours a day. TikTok is
all right. And that's a problem. People just see that. What's that? Doom scrolling or something like that. That people get involved.
See it. I am it sometimes.
So there is one of my students is looking at doing a thing where you can actually. What is it? It'll fit on top of like TikTok, and you can set a time.
Mm-hmm. And Apple has that built in, but
then what it does is then it forces you to like watch an ad.
What a funny buzzkill! It's a buzzkill way of getting you to use the ad.
That's actually pretty clever.
That's really funny. That's a smart way of doing it, and he makes money.
And you can just figure out because sometimes if you just see an ad, and I know I've done that. I'll be looking at like a news, or I'll follow news or something like that, and all of a sudden this ad pops up, and then I just realize,
I'm out of here.
I've been Oh, okay, done. I'm not going to wait through, and sometimes it'll actually tell you 30 seconds. No, I'm done. Boom.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think that's the actual intention they had on that, but it actually but so then for them to come up with an idea for that, it's like, that might work for people.
Yeah.
I'm curious, best and worst like ideas you've heard, and don't attach names to the worst ideas, but you have a lot of deal flow of ideas where you currently are, soon we'll see them. We'll make videos of the best ones and the worst ones, comedy.
One of my favorite ones.
In a fun way, an enjoyable way.
Well, one of them was a young man came to me and he brought this little box of little Lego parts, and he was making little Lego helmets and armor from Star Wars characters for Lego pieces.
Cool.
And
sue them like Lego.
And but they weren't Lego branded, but they would fit on Lego things. So he wasn't actually calling it Lego. And I go, that's really interesting. And he said, I'm selling them. And he had a website up, and he was actually selling them. He goes, it goes really well with my other business. And I said, well, what's that? He says, I sell used Lego pieces. And I go,
vertically
really?
integrated.
And he goes, I buy it from by the pound from Goodwill or something like that. I sort through it. I know the ones that people want. And this guy was just an absolute Lego nerd in the best possible way.
Oh, people get into Legos.
They really get into it. So he'd actually created this whole business doing that.
If he had just ended it with like, can I be honest with you, Bob? I'm a Bionicle guy. I can't stand Lego. He's that far.
No, he was into it. One of the worst ideas. This was great. Somebody came up to me because we run this program called the Oregon Innovation Challenge, and we work with people who have an idea for a business, and working through the whole process.
What's you have to be a U of O student?
Yeah. Okay. Or faculty or PhD student, and we work with the students or faculty through what's the problem you're solving, what's your solution, is there a market there, can you make money doing it, how's the business model going to look, all these things. And so one student came up and their idea was they wanted to pitch, because then they end up pitching for up to $10,000, and this one student wanted to pitch so they could put $10,000 and buy a sailboat.
Nice.
All right.
Good for him.
What do you?
So excited.
I love it.
Right.
Yeah. I want to buy an RV. But
what do you want to do with the sailboat? Well, I'm going to sail it to the big trash heap in the Pacific Ocean. So there's this big swirling trash heap in the Pacific Ocean that's something like twice the size of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
It's just this swirling trash.
To think about.
And I said, okay, and want to sail the boat out there and then pick up trash and bring it back and make products out of it.
Cool.
All right. Have you ever sailed a boat before? Well, no.
Oh, God.
Off to a good start.
The Pacific Ocean is large, my friend.
And how much of this trash do you think you can bring back on your little sailboat? Well, I hadn't really thought about that. And I said, well, then what are you going to make out of this trash?
And the concept of microscopically small is tricky.
But working with them, I said, okay, but I like the idea of, recycling of the trash. Mm-hmm. But I think you can find trash close by. Mm-hmm. Let's start with that.
Yeah.
And so it was just like, but it was just like a big thinking sort of thing. So it was kind of amusing.
It sounds
but
really fun.
Scaled it back, and maybe they would go out there sometime to...
The way you started the story of I thought you meant he was gonna win it and then use the prize to just enjoy life, because it's like it's not stipulated you have to use the prize money to scale the business, is it? Or it's like probably heavily implied. But I thought you were just like someone just wanted to buy a sailboat, but they knew they'd win.
Oh my god!
I thought that's what he was saying. I'm like, oh my god, that guy's a legend.
It's a little devious. Kind of like it though.
I mean, if you can win the competition, hey,
yeah.
Like, I don't need the money to scale. It's not the right time to scale. Yeah, I won this competition fair and square. I want a boat. I'm like, that's what I thought you were setting up. I'm like, that's a legendary. I hope someone does it someday,
And then we get to work with these night campus students that are working on the biotechnology stuff. That's pretty cool. So there's one woman there who actually won one of our fellowships last year, and she's doing working with they can 3D print biomaterials in fibers so thin it's like the width of like a spider web.
Wow.
And what they're doing is printing these little nanotubes that will actually fit nerves. Because if you get a damage to like your forearm, you get a crushing blow to your forearm, you can plate the bone back together, you can sew the muscles back together, but if you sever a nerve, you lose that feeling or motor function that nerve provides. But the thing about peripheral nerves is they grow back.
Very, very slowly.
The thing is, how do you guide them back? So she's actually printing these little tubes so that they can put one broken end in one end of the tube and the other broken in the other end, and it'll actually let the nerve grow back together.
Slowly. That's funny. Nerve braces. That'd be a great name for the company. Do you work with David Frey? We met him at UO bioengineering guy.
Oh, really?
So just hey, if it was at the Science Factory at the beginning of spring.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh,
I forgot about that guy.
His name in my contacts is UO bioengineering. I'm like, it might have been a crossover.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, there's a lot of
people there.
University of Oregon is a big organization.
We passed an hour.
Oh, okay.
I want to end it. No, I'm kidding. More or less,
right.
I'm like, I want to make sure that if you have anything that you're like, this is a piece of information I would have liked to get out, it'd be beneficial. We started with what are you good at? You're good at design, building things, and going fast. How'd you take?
Well, hopefully, I'm a good husband and a good father as well.
There's no time for any of that in the modern world. You are your business. No, but talking business advice.
Well, I just kind of encourage people to go ahead and pursue their dreams. There's no time like the present to go ahead and do it. And I've done a lot of things. Just don't be somewhere much later in life where you regret not having actually gone out and done something. Get out of your comfort zone, try something completely different, and pursue that dream.
I'm there right now. It's weird and
nice.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So what do you do when you're there? Because I'm there. I've pursued my dream. I've gone to
Are you in the sludging?
It's funny. His advice is literally to be take a bet on yourself. Do something. So I did that. What would your next piece of advice be? And this is,
keep going.
Double click on.
You're never
beautiful.
Done with that. It's not one and done. What's the next challenge? Yeah.
And
so for me, I'm kind of in that next phase of my life and realizing how much I really enjoy, working with this next generation of entrepreneurs and kind of being able to relay some of the hard lessons that I've learned along the way, and just
I'm
trying
the next
to
generation.
ease up.
I'm asking that right
I
now.
know, yeah.
This
That's
is
what I'm saying. Just
there.
do it, and it's
Yeah.
it's not like you're done. I don't. It's interesting. I guess people, my peers and stuff, are talking about retirement and stuff like that, and I just don't see that on my horizon. I'm just having
your impact.
I'm just
That's
having too
beautiful.
much fun doing
That's
what I'm
beautiful.
doing. So.
And the beauty of consulting-ish like work is you can do it for like your entire
Right.
lifespan. You can talk to people, think.
All right. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's the goal. That's
Yeah.
is to kind of build up some sort of accolade or special knowledge where then that's like you're
And it's
you're
something
there.
that I've just built up over the years. I didn't consciously go out to do it and become kind of an expert on how to create and build things and raise money, sell them, all that stuff that I've just done over these years.
It's a great skill.
It's kind of like, hey, that's kind of fun.
Surprisingly big impact. Changes things. Well, that's beautiful. I mean, do you have any closing questions?
No,
All right.
thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, Bob, we met
Always
3 or 4
enjoy
years
chatting
ago.
with you guys.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
We took a video of you at PIR that first, it was
yeah.
beautiful. You were there for our first day.
Yeah, our first big shoot.
Yeah, so it's, knowing you years later, it's been a joy. It's true,
Yep.
Thank you for being out there, just making the Eugene community better.
I'm working on it.
All right. Sticks.